Hi, I'm Tim Cain, the entertainment editor at the Herald and Review, and I'm here because Austin wants. The year-end lists are coming out about now, depending on when we were able to publish this, when we were able to post this on the web. 10 best movies, 10 best albums, 10 worst TV shows, 10 best books, stuff like that. There are purists who will say that lists like this are a waste of time, marking things by year and saying, okay, these are the best of this year. That's just a corny way of doing things, and it's a way for lazy journalists to be able to publish lists at a time of year when there's not a lot of news happening and stuff like that. I suppose some of those things could be true, but you know what? I really like those lists. I like looking at someone's top 10 lists and finding out, okay, this person loved a movie that I loved, and then they've got 3 other movies on their list that I've never even heard of. I should go check those out. This guy, his favorite album of the year was also my favorite album of the year, but he's got 2 albums but his albums at 2 and 3. I've never heard of these artists. I got to go check that stuff out. That's the reason I love it. I love anybody who's going to push me toward new art and quality art. And if you believe in it enough to say this is one of the best things I've heard all year, I'm willing to stand behind you and go, okay, I'll check that out. That was exactly what happened this summer, by the way, when I came here and talked to you about going to see The Millers. There were people who told me it was the worst thing that they had ever seen. Somebody literally said, this is the worst movie I have ever seen. And I literally had somebody else say, this is the best movie I've ever seen. I thought, you know what? I want to see this, not because I think it's going to be fantastic or I think it's going to be terrible. What I wanted to do was take a look and see if I could see the extremes that each of these people saw at either end of it. Could I see the thing that made the one person say, this is the worst movie I've ever seen? Well, it was far from the worst movie I've ever seen, but I could see how you wouldn't like it. And the other person who said it was the funniest thing they've ever seen. And could I see that? Not really, but again, I respected both people enough to pursue their opinions and was able to talk to each of them about it later on just to kind of figure out, okay, what was it? To me, that's the excitement about art. I'm getting to the point where I don't mind investing the time. I don't consider it a waste of time to watch something that I really don't like or to listen or read something that I really don't like. If somebody else really likes it and I'm able to talk with them and they're able to say to me, this is what I got out of it, it can help me in a number of ways. Oh, that's what you've got. That's what you got out of it. I already had that in my lexicon, so I didn't need to get that there, and I think it's been done better. I can give you a location where you'll find that it was done better. Or, conversely, if somebody says, this is the best album I've ever heard, and I'm able to listen to it and go, wow, you're right, that's really, really good. That's a spectacular feeling, too. So, I love those lists. Keep them coming. I don't even mind if you want to send me your list of your 5 favorite movies of this year or albums of this year. And I do like the division of it into years. I do like the division of things into decades. I know that we don't live life based like that. I know that things didn't change when the clock turned from 2009 to 2010. We were still living the same lives. But I think that decade feel gives you a chance to put everything in a nice little bushel and pull things out of that bushel that are like-minded. You get stuff that was made in the 1970s, even though they're wildly different movies, say French Connection versus Star Wars, they still have a similar feel because of the time that they came out, because of the language that we were speaking to communicate to one another, and the way that's changed. And I also find it fascinating to see how things change from decade to decade, and does something that was really powerful in one decade or in one era hold up later on. I like packaging them that way. It just fits my mind better. If it doesn't work for you, then I'd advise you to find something else. Or just say, that's the best movie I saw since blah, or that's the best album I listened to since this other one. Then that at least gives you the framework from which to make a comparison, and I think that's all we're doing when we're picking things out by year or by decade or stuff like that. I got a top 10 list of albums. Maybe I'll go 20 this year, but it's coming out soon. And just as a hint, I guarantee you that probably most of you haven't heard of the person who recorded my album of the year. And it's just because that's the way my taste goes. Doesn't mean, it's not because I'm a critic. It's just because I like goofy, obscure things. I like goofy things that are outside the mainstream, and this definitely was. It had like a 14-minute song of a guy just playing an acoustic guitar and kind of chanting. That's for starters. But we'll talk more about it later. In the meantime, I'm Tim Cain. I'm here because Austin wants.